to the Sacred Postpartum Summit. My name is Layla B and I am your hostess. I am also an entrepreneur, a mother of three, a change maker, a traditional Moroccan postpartum trainer, and a philanthropist. My mission is to revive, reclaim and restore sacred and ancient traditional Moroccan postpartum medicine, to document the wisdom and keep it alive. That is why I created the Sacred Postpartum Summit, so we can support professionals to learn and share new knowledge together all across the globe. Welcome to the first lecture of the Sacred Postpartum Summit 2018. My name is Layla B, and this lecture is on who is the Nafsa, the new mother. The Nafsa is an Arabic word which means new mother, and it's a term that is commonly used throughout the Arab world, and in Morocco she's known as the Nafisa. So in the Moroccan dialect it's Nafisa, which comes from the Arabic word Nafsa. So a new mother is always referred to as a Nafsa. She has her own term, and that's specifically hers for probably at least the first year after her baby is born. It's important that we understand more about the Nafsa and the new mother before we dive into the next 6 days of the summit, because everything we're going to be talking about revolves around the Nafsa, and you as a woman who's probably a professional who takes care of new mothers and helps new mothers, or just as a mother yourself, a friend, we probably all have come into contact with new mothers at some point or the other in our lives, so they're very important to us. So we need to understand more about them. So, Ahlan, welcome. I'm Layla. You've heard a little bit about me in the introduction of the Sacred Postpartum Summit. I'm a Moroccan mother, and I'm on a mission to revive, reclaim, restore, and discover traditional Moroccan postpartum medicine. Medicine referring to traditional medicines, medicines that were used for the postpartum woman in Morocco. Traditionally, they were used for generations, going back, as one of the Qablas told me, since the beginning of time. A Qabla is a traditional midwife. I'm also an entrepreneur, so I've been running my own business for the past 4 years, and ever since I was a young child, I've been starting different businesses, coming up with new ideas. My father's an entrepreneur, my brother, my sister-in-law, many of my uncles, so it runs in the family and I've always enjoyed it. I'm also a change maker. I try to make change in my own life and the lives of other women. I've been working previously with many different charities. It's something that I enjoy, and I also want to make change in women's lives. And I'm planning to register in a charity for women next year, God willing, to help continue making change for women in Morocco and around the world. And I hope you will join me to continue this change. I'm a traditional Moroccan postpartum trainer and a philanthropist. So let's get started. This is just an image of how a Nafsa traditionally may look like, not exactly. She would be wearing white jewelry, some sort of gold jewelry to celebrate her, to acknowledge her, to signify her importance, just like a new bride. In Morocco, if any of you have seen a Moroccan bride or known one, generally lots of preparation and hard work and effort goes into a new bride. So there's lots of dresses and outfits that need to be prepared, even if she's having a wedding or not. Henna, new clothes for after she gets married and before, lots of jewelry, beautifying, like using kuhul. I mentioned henna already. It's just a big deal. This is a new phase of someone's life, of this woman's life, just like the new mother. It's a new phase of her life, so she needs to be celebrated and prepared for that phase. So today's workshop, we're going to aim to take you from wherever you are now to learning more about the Moroccan Nafsa and Nafsas in general. So what does nafsa mean? In English, the word that's commonly used is puerperal. It's not commonly used actually in our everyday language, but online, if I never heard of that word before, but when I was doing research, that's the word I came across. It's originally a Latin word, but it's, as I mentioned, it's not commonly used now in general everyday talk. So the new mother nowadays doesn't have her own special word that represents her and signifies her importance. So it's just, oh, that lady, she gave birth. Okay, that's about it. The culture has stopped signifying the importance of the new mother. The cultures, many cultures, not all cultures, obviously we have lots of traditional cultures, but in the modern world, in the West, a lot of cultures have lost the traditional postpartum knowledge, the traditional rituals. They were present in all cultures in different ways, but many have become extinct. You talk to people in some countries and they have no idea what their grandmothers and the women before them were doing, and they cannot be passed on. They're gone. That's why I'm very passionate about reviving, reclaiming, and restoring this wisdom from my country, Morocco, while I still have the chance, while it's still alive, and while it's still being practiced. Because I think in a few generations it may be gone if we don't do this. With traditional midwives getting older, the younger generation are not taking over, so we need to keep that alive. And with colonization, globalization, modernization, that also has a large effect. So the nafsa is a new mother. Generally, we're defining that stage for the first 6 weeks, the first 40 days, but that's really should be the bare minimum. It's not like, okay, you're 6 weeks postpartum, that's it, you're not a new mother, get on with it. No, it should be, usually it's the first year of her life minimum, because within the first years, changes are still happening to the new woman. And even after a year, changes are happening. So this first 40 days should be the absolute bare minimum time that a new mother has for herself as a new mother, to recover, to recuperate, and just to get her head around becoming a new mother and having a new baby. Or even if not, even if her baby didn't make it, that's even harder for her. So she needs a lot of support and care. So why now? Why do we need to care for the nafsa now? Why is this very important? Why do we need to be talking about it and all making change in this area? So in the birth world, obviously there's always lots to be done. There always will, but a lot has been changing. So there's a lot of birth workers. There's lots of positive birth stories out there and lots of change and advocacy going on. So we need to do that for the postpartum as well, because I think it's getting less importance than the birth, but I think they're equally as important. All the stages are important. But nowadays we're hearing lots of sad cases in the postpartum period. The rates of postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, trauma is very high. And in the worst cases, we're hearing lots of stories about women committing suicide in the postpartum period. So we need to put a stop to this. Why is that happening? I believe from the lack of support. It's really hard work being a new mother. I'm a mother 3 times. I've had 3 pregnancies and 3 babies. The oldest is about 4.5. The middle one is going to be 3 in October, and the youngest is 1 year and 2 months approximately. So it's hard work. My body is still recovering 1 year and 2 months later, but also because I had the other 2 births, so 3 consecutive births. And it's hard. If I didn't have the support of my mother during the first birth, I'm sure I would have fallen into a depression, because it's not easy. So it's very important now that we all stand together. We have the resources. We're all connected on the online world. We can support each other. We can make change. Parents are looking for this knowledge. We just need people to share it. Also, we need to do this now because these traditional practices are also becoming extinct in their countries. For example, in Morocco, it's still widely, the traditional postpartum practices are still widely practiced, but it's getting, as I mentioned before, less and less. Cities are becoming very modern, and all these traditions are slowly dying. Some of the traditions people have never heard of before, and people don't want to implement them because they don't know much about them. So this is very important that we preserve these before we look back when we're older and think, oh no, there's nothing there for new mothers, nothing traditional that can help them heal and recover. So it's very important time that we try and make the change now. And it's mothers, new mothers, who are suffering all around the world. So we need to try and help them, God willing. So this is one of the examples of a traditional postpartum medicine that women receive in Morocco. The woman on the left is Amina. She's a traditional qabla, a traditional midwife, and that's her daughter on the right, Nabila, who also could be a traditional midwife. They've both had about 7 and 5 children each, all born at home. And this is closing of the new mother. In Morocco, we either call it the closing or closing of the bones. So this is just one of the rituals to help the mother heal and recover and bring her pelvis and her whole body back. Basically, through pregnancy, the body expands, the pelvis slightly expands as well, and the mother's body is aching. So this tradition will help. It's usually done for a few times throughout the first week. She's had it done a few times, along with the hammam, a nice hot bath with massaging, lots of good nourishing food and rest. So as you can imagine, by the first 40 days, a mother would already start feeling quite good, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So it's important that we start to recognize these are the types of things that nafsats need. Of course, in different countries, they have different things. Not closing the bones isn't common in all countries, in quite a few countries only. In Mexico, for example. So we need to either provide these kinds of services or also look at the other traditions in different countries and what we can bring in to help the mother. Okay, so a little bit about my story. As I mentioned, I've become a new mother 3 times. So my body's been through a lot, and I'm still recovering, still trying to lose some weight because I want to and I feel I need to. And it's not easy. And with my 3rd birth, I had a really good postpartum when I went back to Morocco, and I had my parents with all 3 births helping me. And with the 3rd one, I met Amina and Nabila, who you saw on the picture just before. I knew them from before, but at that time, they came to my home. Amina gave me a hammam, a traditional bath just in our home. And she had apple mint, she had all the natural products. She was lovingly washing me, reciting prayers, taking care of me. And meanwhile, Nabila was in the kitchen making a traditional postpartum dish with lots of spices and herbs, very warming and nourishing. And then after my hammam, she took me to the room. They did the closing for me together. They dressed me, they washed my baby, we all sat down together, we ate the food, and I just felt good. You can imagine how that feels. You're just being nourished. My mom was there, she was taking care of the baby. If I needed to feed the baby, I could feed the baby. My mom was helping me. There were people in the house, so I was supported 100%. So that was a moment where I said, okay, basically what Amina is doing is what a traditional postpartum doula would do. And women not only need this, they deserve it and they need it. This is something that needs to be the norm, and it used to be the norm. It should become the norm, that this is what new mothers need to have. And women themselves need to know that this is what they should be having. They need to know that they deserve this is their right. And we need to help them own this and help make it happen. So that's a little bit about my story and how I got into this. And how I got into the birth world was through my first birth, because I had a negative birth experience, postpartum a little bit as well. But the birth, I wanted to have a completely natural birth. I went to hospital to give birth, and I didn't really educate myself beforehand. So whatever the doctors told me when I got to the hospital in England, I just listened to. And I ended up with an epidural and a episiotomy, lots of drugs. So after the birth, I literally felt I was in a huge accident. I just wanted to sleep for days, and I had to take care of a new baby, try to feed the baby. The feeding wasn't working. It was painful. It was just a horrible time. And as I mentioned in the beginning, if my parents were not there to support me and to take care of me, I really would have been depressed 100%. Even after I came back to the UAE, I live here in Dubai. I came back here maybe after a month or something like that, and my mom came with me. She stayed 3 weeks. Then she went back. After a week, I couldn't handle it. I got on a plane and went to Morocco. I stayed there for 3 months. Rested, recovered, ate well, relaxed, got the support I needed. Then I came back and could finally feel ready to take care of my baby alone. It's not easy, and traditionally women weren't meant to do this, and they never used to do it alone. They always had the support of neighbors, support of family, of friends. People were always raising their children together. Now everyone's individual, everyone's, we don't even know who our neighbors are anymore. Traditionally in Morocco, it still happens in some villages and in some areas, when a new mother is in the area, all the neighbors will take turns and bring her the special rafisa dish, which is a special chicken dish. And they will take turns to bring that to the new mother, because they know she shouldn't be cooking and she can't be cooking. So hopefully we can start to revive, reclaim, and restore these things. All right, so now I want to talk to you about a little story of a woman called Pilar Maat. Pilar is from America. She's African American, and she came to the Tribal Sisterhood retreats in Morocco with me in May of this year. And she's become a friend, a sister, a wise woman who I look up to. And so she was on the retreat, and she was the one who we got to offer the hammam and the closing to while we were teaching the other ladies. And so I just wanted to show you a short clip with her sharing her experience of how she felt and the importance of it, even if you're a new mother many years later.
So greetings everyone, my name is Ma'at and I'm from Los Angeles, California. And so today I was given the sacred postpartum bath by the traditional midwife here in Morocco, and it was life-changing. So it's hard for me to put it in words because I still feel it. I've been kind of like on a whole nother plane, if that makes sense to those who are listening to my testimony. But I almost feel like I'm floating. Immediately, just the smell of the herbs on the hot stones started to do something to me, transform, and I was like, am I supposed to be feeling like this? But it's a good thing, and just to have them touch, and you can feel all the love that they put into the work that they do, and I'm just forever grateful. I don't know how to repay them. I wish I could. I want to always honor those who give so much of themselves and never ask for anything in return. And I can just feel it. I know. And Layla's told us that most of them don't even get paid for their services, but you can feel the love and the energy that's coming from them. And I wish there was a way that I could truly repay them, and so that they would know how much it meant to me just for them to do the bath on me today. And my baby is 10, but it still had a major, major effect on me. Something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And It's a healing that's hard to put into words. And every mom deserves it. Every mother deserves to feel how I feel right now. And I didn't have a baby. I had a baby 10 years ago. But because no one was there to give me this, I feel as if I just gave birth. Or maybe it's just that I feel like I'm being reborn. And so I give thanks. And thank you, Layla, for having the retreat. And I hope one day I can return. And I pray that everything that I learned, that I remember to honor those who came before me, who's been doing this work. May I always honor them and give them the credit for all that they've taught us and for all that they do for everybody. That's it. I'm grateful beyond words.
Thank you, Pilar. Bless you. So I'm glad to say she will be coming back to the retreat. So we've gifted her with a scholarship because we just love having her there and she deserves it. So I'm happy to have her back next year in 2019. So if you've heard what she was saying, you can see how it still can affect a woman 10 years after her birth. So imagine the impact as soon as she gives birth. All right, very emotional, that video. So moving on, this is a ceremonial tray that we prepare for the new mother. So they look quite different depending on the region and depending on the occasion and the time. So this is one we prepared for the hammam. So everything is made into a celebration. So if a new mother is going to the hammam, if it's not done in her house and she's going to a local hammam, which is probably within walking distance, this would probably be the only place that the new mother is going out to. The only place for the first 40 days. She would not go to do any shopping. You know, all the groceries and shopping will be brought to the home. So this is probably the only place she goes to. She's wrapped completely from head to toe to make sure she doesn't catch any cold, any winds. That's a big thing in the traditional Moroccan postpartum medicine. The new mother needs to be warm because after birth, her body's in a cold state and open after giving birth, and the babies come out, the waters come out, the placenta, and her pelvis is still open, so we need to keep the mother warm from head to toe. On the tray at the top right, we have the rasoul clay, which is used for the hammam. We have dates for nourishment. We have green tea, which we use to make the Moroccan tea. We have mint there as well. We have on the left side in the little pot, there's some soap, olive soap, which is used to rub and massage the new mother's body with. The cloth there is a mendil, which we use to wrap the new mother or just to use as a blanket. We have some milk, which the new mother drinks. We have some salt. We have henna, which is used for the mom, mixed with the other natural products to rub on her body. And then there's the bowl with the henna, the silver bracelet, and an egg. That's just a traditional ritual. Even for new brides, they put that in there. So it's just a symbol trying to reference that the new mom, the new baby will be as wonderful as the egg and as bright as silver. And then we also have rose water, orange blossom, and candles. So this is normally taken to the hammam, or it's taken beforehand. It's placed there. There's a big sugar cone in the middle that's usually given to the women who work in the hammam, and also tea. And then they also take sweets and treats. So the new mother is lovingly washed, and there's a celebration. Her friends, her family, her neighbors come as well. Only the women. There's separate hammams for men, but for women, it's never mixed. And it's just a celebration. The new mother gets washed by the traditional midwife and is taken care of, basically pampered, loved. And this is all part of the healing. All the products that are used are part of the healing. All the warmth, the steam in the hammam, the herbs in the hammam is all to help the new mother recover and heal and to prevent any illnesses in the future. So, this is a little poem, part of a larger poem I wrote, which you'll get to hear once we get into the summit, specifically on the last day. So in Morocco, traditionally, the nafsa, the new mother, was not treated like any other. She was treated like a bride, with kuhl in her eyes, like a queen filled with pride. Not left to suffer, cry alone, develop PPD, and in the worst case, commit suicide. So does that sound familiar to you or not? The first part is talking how we should take care of the new mother and how she's like a bride. So as I explained, in traditional Moroccan culture, she's treated like a bride and referenced as a bride with kuhl in her eyes and like a queen filled with pride. Or it's not familiar, and what we have become familiar with is women left alone to suffer, cry, develop postpartum depression, and in the very worst cases, committing suicide. So that's why we're doing all this, to try and help avoid these situations and let the mother just be a new mother and enjoy her time and recover well. So traditional qablas, the word qabla is an Arabic word coming from the word qubul, which means receiving. So traditional qablas are traditional midwives, traditional receivers. So they help new mothers become new mothers and bring the gifts of life to this world. And we still have traditional qablas in Morocco, especially in the small villages, smaller towns. They work in rural areas and they go to other women's home to help them have their babies. Previously, that's the way women used to give birth all the time in Morocco, at home with traditional midwives. Now there's very few of them, and their children, their daughters, their relatives are not taking on these jobs because they're very low paid or not paid at all. And yeah, basically people don't want to do these jobs anymore and they're slowly becoming extinct. So we need to try and help, again, revive these things to keep them alive and get all the knowledge and share the wisdom that they hold. Some of the traditional midwives I've learned with and worked with come from generations of traditional qablas and healers. Some just came about it themselves, like Amina. She just started helping people when she was very young and she had a gift for it. And another traditional qabla called Fatima told me that she just has an art for this and God blessed her with this ability. And she's been doing it for about 30 years or more, helping over 7,000 women, and she's probably almost 70, still doing it, still happy. And she said for women to do this, they need to have one thing, ataf, which is compassion. That's the key word that she highlighted, is compassion. So working with women, we need to have compassion, which I think is true. So there's 6 stages of healing that I've come up with from my life as a Moroccan, living in Morocco, my grandmothers, my mother, the traditional qablas that I've learned with. I've come up with 6 stages of healing from the traditional Moroccan postpartum medicine that we should be providing to new mothers. They are: welcome her, honor her, nourish her, nurture her, clothe her, and celebrate her. These don't happen exactly in that order, but they're happening together simultaneously. So a new mother becomes a new mother, we're welcoming her, honoring her, even throughout her pregnancy, preparing her to that stage of becoming a new mother. As she's giving birth, even before she gives birth, we're nourishing her. While she's giving birth, we're preparing special foods for her. As soon as she gives birth, she's fed those nourishing foods, and throughout the first 40 days as a minimum. And they always emphasize having local, traditional, organic food. Lots of warming spices, herbs, no cold food. Nurturing the new mom, so through the steams, the hammam, the massage in the hammam, nurturing her in all types of ways with lots of love and compassion. Closing her, so doing the closing from head to toe, and then also the belly binding, closing her around the womb, and celebrating her. So celebrating her throughout, celebrating her as a new mom. There's lots of festivities, celebrations, applying henna, beautification, songs, prayers. And this is like a full circle that keeps on happening to the new mother for at least the first 40 days, sometimes for even longer. So why do we need to emphasize those 6 stages of healing? Is because what the nafsa has been through. So what has she been through? So there's changes to her mind and her body throughout pregnancy. Throughout pregnancy, the new mother's body changes, as we know. So the blood in her body increases tremendously. Her uterus grows in size, the organs move, everything's shifting, the placenta is growing, the baby is growing. Her mind, things change in her mind, her hormones, her emotional states, her spiritual states, everyone's different. So the woman goes through so many changes during pregnancy, during labor, during birth, after birth, for the first year, for the next year. So it's a lot of changes to deal with. And if we can imagine, if a person's ever sick and goes to the hospital, after that they need time to recover. And the doctors always emphasize that this person needs to rest, to recover, to sleep, to eat well, to have lots of soups, nourishing food, not to go back into exercise quickly. I know new mother's not sick. It's a natural change to her body and to her life. But the new mother still needs all that and more as well. So her grave is open for 40 days. This is a traditional saying that we have in Morocco. So we say the new mother's grave is open for 40 days. This is to highlight and emphasize the importance of the new mother, because she's very vulnerable to anything after birth, vulnerable emotionally, physically, and mentally. We need to make sure we help heal the new mother, because she could catch a cold, she could get sick, she could be bleeding more than she should be. And so we need to support her through eating good foods, clothing her, taking care of her, letting her rest and recover. So we need to make sure that within those 40 days, she gets all the love and support she needs. So hopefully this will help her to avoid the postpartum depression and have an enjoyable time with her baby and with herself. So cultures around the world, I've been talking a little bit about that before. So there's lots of other cultures around the world which have these traditions and importance of the first 40 days. Of course, they have different traditions, but all of them will emphasize the need of warmth, not eating cold foods, warm foods, keeping the new mother warm, some sorts of binding around the womb area. Some do the massage, we have the hammam, some have bath, some have different types of clothing. So each culture differs, but in the modern world, especially in the West, a lot of these cultures and traditions have gone. So that's why we're trying to share these and try to bring them to women around the world and help nafsats everywhere. So how do we need to treat the new mother? Just as I've been saying throughout this lecture, so through the 6 stages that I've talked about, with lots of love, with lots of compassion, like a bride. In Morocco, she's like a bride, so lots of importance, significance, and with the aim of healing. So our aim is to heal the new mother now and to help her not get any future ailments as she gets older. If it's left untreated, that could be the case. So that's the main thing I wanted to discuss about the nafsa. This is a brief lecture on the new mother. And hopefully, if you're joining me on September the 6th, so on the last day of the Sacred Postpartum Summit, we will be having a live webinar. It's a free workshop online. It's a bonus of the Sacred Postpartum Summit. It'll be by me, and it will be about 60 to 70 minutes, and I'll be talking about the 6 stages of healing in depth. So I'll be explaining each one, how it's done, and how you can start to implement a few things into your life today and into the life of new mothers that you may be dealing with. And we'll also discuss some of the culture, the history behind it, and how you may be interested to revive, reclaim, and restore this knowledge as well. So all the details will be in your email that you would have received today, and on the first day when you signed up. You'll have a link. All you have to do is click on the link at the time stated on September 6th, and I'll be on the call, and I'll have my slides, and I'll be taking you through the webinar. And for all of those who attend live and stay till the end, you'll be getting a free all-access pass of this summit. So all the videos that are taking place from the 1st to the 5th, you will get all access to all the videos for free. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your time. And here's to reviving, reclaiming, and restoring this knowledge and helping new mothers all around the world. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the videos and the summit. Thank you and goodbye.